Are there still folks outside that wish to come in? Well, I've got 6 o'clock on my fine chronometer. I know we're in Fort Scott, my watch. So we're going to get started here. And as always, we will have a welcome by Lindsay Madison, who's the Chamber President and CEO.
All right, we ready to go now? Okay. Yes, as Mark said, I am Lindsay Madison with the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to give all of you a warm welcome that are in attendance both here in person and joining us on Facebook Live. We really appreciate Fort Scott Community College for the use of this great facility and for their staff for being here to oversee that things go smoothly tonight. We always enjoy hosting these forums before the primary, and we'll have another one before the general election. And are great that you are here participating so that you can be informed. If you haven't already gone to the polls for advanced voting, but be informed when you vote. And we really appreciate all the candidate participation tonight for someone that you've sent on your behalf. So I just want to give a warm welcome, and without further ado, I'll turn it back over to Mark.
Okay, so welcome to Bourbon County, welcome to Fort Scott. Now that's probably been said already twice now, but it's important that you know where you are and who we are. I'm Mark McCoy. I am a retired business person, and I am a failure in retirement. I think many people might agree with that. I'll be your moderator tonight. As always, we will start with a Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. So if you would all please stand so that we can all honor our country together. If you are a current or former military person, as you well know, you may salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Most holy and heavenly Father, we come before you asking for your blessings this evening, your blessings upon our community, upon our town, for all the folks that are here tonight to offer their input, to give us their information and their knowledge and their understanding so that we can make better decisions to be better informed in our community, in our state, and in the United States of America. We ask that you allow each and every one of us to arrive home safely. We ask that you bless each and every person that's here, and we ask for these blessings in our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. A few other just typical announcements. If you have your cell phone on and it goes off during the meeting, we collect dollars for Dolly. Can we not do that anymore?
We can do that.
We can, we do. So I would love to have the first person, their phone to go off so I can collect, it's $1, $1 US. So if your phone goes off, I will find you. Not only will I find you, but I will find you so that I can run out and, well, maybe walk slowly and collect that dollar. So, phones off. Please respect the candidates that are up here. Their time is precious. Your time is precious. We will have the candidates come up. They will sit at the tables. We haven't determined which side is Republican or Democrat or all the other parties that may be available tonight. Please pick a chair where you feel comfortable sitting. We will start with the United States. We will start with those running. Let me get my list here so I'm going to get off track already. Thank you, Cliff. Let's see, am I missing anything else on here? Oh, before we do that, I'm sorry. Ashley Shelton is our county clerk. She's going to give us some highlights and information on ways to vote now, before, and during Election Day.
Thank you. We have started early voting at the courthouse. It goes through the end of this month. It's Monday through Saturday from 8:30 to 4:30. So people that work out of town or just work in general and can't get there between those hours, we are open on Saturday all day. Please come by. We had 15 people last Saturday. We had 100 today. I think we're up to like 300 voters so far. You just need to be sure and bring your photo ID. Tomorrow's the last day for us to accept advanced applications to vote by mail. So if we don't have those by tomorrow, you'll have to early vote. It ends on Monday, August 1st. We'll be there from 8:30 till noon. The polls close at noon on that day. And then you'll have to vote on August 2nd at your polling place. If you have any questions, if what you're registered as or where you vote at, just call our office. You can also go to the Secretary of State's website. They have a voter view website that you can look up all your information. Really important, everyone gets to vote in the primary. I don't think this has happened since the 80s. There is a ballot for everyone, regardless of what you're registered for, so you don't have to be Democrat or Republican. If you're a registered voter, please come vote.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a timekeeper. He's right down here. His name is Devin Talley. Devin, would you show him the 30-second sign? So candidates, he will show this if you have 30 seconds left. Prior to that, if you're speaking for 3 minutes, he will show you the 1-minute sign. And then we have the ever-present sign that says stop. And when that doesn't work, then I start waving my arms and hands and so forth. Okay? We are on Facebook Live. Neil Goodnani is right here. He's our digital technician for this evening. And so you can find that on the Facebook page. All right. So candidates will participate in the following format. Each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 1-minute opening statement. That's candidates that are here. 3 questions will be asked of each candidate. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to answer each question. Each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 2-minute closing statement. If you are a candidate and you are here and you are unopposed, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Candidates not in attendance have been given the option to have someone also come. So if you are speaking for a candidate, you will have up to 3 minutes of a statement to present on their behalf. Any questions? And I cannot see very well, and I'm sure the folks sitting at the table will be in the same way. No? Okay, good. So, the forum will go in the order of federal, state, and then local offices. So, we will be starting off with the United States Senate, and we have someone speaking on behalf of Mark Holland, and her name is Carol Lydic. Carol will be speaking first. Carol, you have 3 minutes. Please come up here on the stage. And then you come to the podium. So again, candidates, whether you're sitting left or right, you will always come to the podium to answer the questions and to speak. So right over here, Carol. Same thing goes. Our official timer down here will let you know when you have 1 minute, 30 seconds and stop.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Carol.
Mark sends his apologies. He was already engaged elsewhere when he found out about this date. And I am honored to represent him tonight and to read you the statement that he had provided for us. Mark is a 4th-generation Kansan, 3rd-generation UMC minister, and a former county commissioner and mayor of Kansas City, Kansas. He's also a father of 4 kids, with their kids ranging from 16 to 23. His family's always been committed to service. His father, a pastor, taught him the value of serving people, especially those in need. His mother was a teacher, taught him the value of public education and using our gifts to improve the community. As mayor, Mark advocated for expanding access to health care and urged the governor, or then Governor Brownback, to expand Medicaid and to improve health outcomes for residents. He championed better and easier access to green spaces, and he encouraged new industries and businesses to move to Kansas City. During his tenure, the city and county expanded its economy and it dropped its unemployment rate. Mark is running for the U.S. Senate to protect our democracy from attacks by extremists, to break through the culture war and bring common sense problem solving to the issues that are paralyzing our country. Our current Senator, Jerry Moran, lacks this courage. During Moran's 20 years in Washington, he aided and abetted the political environment that has gone from divided to dysfunctional to a deadly attempted takeover of the Capitol. The rights and access for abortion health care, as were previously interpreted under Roe v. Wade, should be enshrined into federal statutory law. Mark supports a filibuster carve-out, which will allow for the passage of legislation through the U.S. Senate with 51 votes. He believes this is an issue of separation of church and state, and as a faith leader, he will always speak out and fight for these rights. He must continue to build the economy. In 2021, the economy created more jobs per month than any other time. The bipartisan infrastructure law will invest in Kansas roads and bridges, clean water, public transportation, and high-speed internet, while creating good-paying jobs for Kansans. Quality public education should be available for every child in Kansas. Early childhood education, along with public schools and colleges, are the backbone of our economic development, attracting businesses and spurring growth. We must give healthcare robust support. Access to affordable health care is a human right, not a privilege. We need to make individuals' right to make their own decisions about reproductive health, not the government. We owe our children a livable planet. And my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
He wrote a lot more.
I lost my thought. Excuse me. So our next United States Senate, we have two candidates that are here, that are present. If they please come on stage, Paul and Patrick. Welcome, gentlemen. Please have a seat anywhere. Both of you have the same first name, which I have to go to the next one.
My name is Patrick. It's pronounced Wiesner.
Patrick Wiesner, okay. I don't want to mispronounce your last name, Paul. Okay, why don't you go ahead and start, please? You have 1 minute for an opening statement. Am I correct there? Yes, 1 minute for an opening statement.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you to the Fort Scott Chamber of Commerce. My name is Paul Buskirk. I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. I'm running for the office of the United States Senate on the Democratic ticket. For the past 37 years, I've served as an educator in Kansas, primarily with students in high school and collegiate levels working in academic support. I've known all this career, as much as I love my students, that there would be a time. There would be a time when there were sufficient needs at hand that would call me to a larger platform with a louder voice to be able to help more people. It was 16 years ago when I thought my time was right. I thought I should run for governor against Kathleen Sebelius. I sounded it out with colleagues and friends with a variety of reactions, but I hadn't talked it over with my wife. I sounded it out with her and she said, "Paul, I just love Kathleen Sebelius. I don't think I could vote for you." It was a very short-lived campaign, just so you know. I'm here to run for the office of the United States Senate, and I'll tell you the rest of my story at the end of our time. Thank you.
Mr. Wiesner, 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here in front of the citizens of Bourbon County. My name is Pat Wiesner. I'm running for the U.S. Senate on a Democratic ticket. I'm originally from Ellis, Kansas. I grew up on a farm north of town. I'm one of 8. Right now, my profession is I'm a tax attorney in Overland Park. My expertise is solving tax controversies and getting settlements for my clients. I'm an Army veteran. I have 21 years in as a reservist. My military specialty was contract and fiscal law. I was on 3 deployments where I wrote legal opinions on spending your tax dollars overseas. I have 2 children, both college graduates. I'm a grandfather, and I'll be glad to answer your questions and ask for your vote. Thank you.
Pat, stay right there. I'm going to go ahead and give you the first question.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And then after you answer the first question, if you sit down, then Paul will come up and answer. It's the same question. Okay? So, what are the 3 biggest issues facing the United States, and how will you address them.
First thing I want to address is our kids don't feel safe in school, so I want to get an assault weapons ban at the federal level. I believe that those weapons are not necessary for safety in the home or for hunting. The second thing I want to address in Washington is this Medicaid spend down for nursing home care. It costs about $8,000 a month to have somebody in a nursing home, and it bankrupts families before the government kicks in and pays their money. Then the third thing I want to address, and this has been going on for 15 years now, is that retirees who save their money have not gotten anything other than less than 1% on their certificates of deposits and savings accounts. That is wrong. That's just transferring money from savers who worked to banks and hedge funds and mortgage companies. I believe that the Federal Reserve Board laws should be changed where all of our savers who worked all their lives are going to get a decent return on their money, and I think 6% is a good place to start. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Paul, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Really, two issues. My message has been very consistent since day one. I am here to support and emphasize the needs of our children and our youth, and then our working families. I shared such with a very pleasant woman in a different audience about 10 days ago, and she said, "That's important, but what else do you have?" And I was a bit taken back, and I responded, "What else is there?" Every need about our children and our youth and our working families permeates throughout all of our culture, from maternal care, from child care, to nutrition, to food stamps where it's needed, to creating opportunities for our working families to be able to engage and care for one another, to the cost of housing. There is nothing more important to benefit all of us than us nurturing our children and our youth. Every concern that we've ever seen for any alleged grown-up that it is in a moment of need, from violence to poverty to mental wellness, has its roots in how we treated them as children and youth. That is my greatest priority. That is our message.
Paul, stay there. You'll get the second question first. The second question is, will you vote for any tax increase? You may elaborate. You have 90 seconds.
I'm not smart enough to tell you what I don't know. I'm not a politician. I've never run for public office before. I'm here because of the needs of the community. If you convince me tomorrow that there's a sufficient need in this county, Bourbon County, where we need to raise taxes to be able to benefit children and youth, I'll say yes. If you tell me that we're wasting our resources in this community, that we can balance things differently by not raising taxes, I can be persuaded. But I won't be tied into a particular answer without knowing the facts of the circumstances.
All right, thank you. Pat.
We have a dynamic economy in this country. It provides natural resources and labor to make a lot of money. We have a big government that now is running over $1 trillion deficits all the time. And so I'm one that we don't dump debt on our kids, and I believe the tax code needs to be fixed. I don't believe the rates need to be increased. I believe the laws need to be enforced, and the IRS needs to be adequately staffed and equipped and funded to do its job. There's a tax gap of about $800 billion a year that should be paid that doesn't. If we invest in proper tax enforcement, we can get 80% of that and reduce that tax gap by about $600 billion a year and not raise anything of taxes. There is plenty of simplification that can come in the tax code. I deal with tax statutes every day. They are complicated, and ordinary people, it's just frustrating for them to understand. So another thing we can do to encourage tax compliance and simplify the code so people know what they owe their government and don't have to pay a fortune for professionals to take care of it for them. Thank you.
Pat, stay right there. You get to first notch at the last question. If the situation arises, how will you vote? State first or party first?
State first.
Sure. So if there's something that comes before a senator, you being a senator that would be from the state of Kansas, are you going to vote for the state of Kansas first, or vote based upon what the party is telling you to vote?
My constituents, my allegiance, and my love is for this state of Kansas. It is not. I'm a Kansan first. I'm a father first. I'm a Kansan second. I'm a Democrat somewhere after that. So I'm going to look for what's best interest of Kansas. I know that what the best interest of Kansas is not always what the best interest of the National Democratic Party will be, but you can count on me that Kansas will get the first consideration on everything I vote on as far as legislation goes, or I'm going to be a Kansas advocate in the Senate and not an advocate for the Democratic Party. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, last question.
Once elected and representing my constituents, my priorities will and always will be God first, family next, state and constituents, and parties always last.
If my memory serves me, Paul, you went first when you introduced yourself, so Pat, you'll be able to go first here. Sir, you have 2 minutes to speak with us, and don't forget our timekeeper down there. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Again, I thank you for this opportunity to address the citizens of Bourbon County and Fort Scott. I'm here to ask for your vote. I want to emphasize that I have got a long bit of experience with federal matters. I've been involved in federal tax and state tax for 30 years. I'm also a CPA. So I think I can bring problem-solving capabilities immediately to the Senate as far as tax matters go. The second one I want to talk to you about is I was a fiscal and contract law expert in the Army. It was my job to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and evaluate proposals by the commanders on spending your tax dollars overseas. I approved expenditures from $300 to $2.7 billion. I have seen how contractors and special interests are out there trying to get more than their share of the money, and they keep trying to get it even though the project is not in the best interest of the government. Finally, I am one that wants us to get out of debt. I want us to start a program where in 30 years we will be able to have all of our national debt paid off. That requires a balanced budget now and with some set aside to pay off principals over the next 30 years. So those are my core values. I'm a hard worker, I'm a fast learner, I'm easy to talk to, and I ask you for your vote on August 2nd. Thank you.
So here's the rest of the story. 16 years ago, I thought that I was being called to that larger platform with larger needs to be able to address more people. I was mistaken. Why now? May 2nd is the date when the media leaked the information about the Supreme Court's pending decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. I knew in that moment it was time for me to step forth to be able to serve and help more individuals, but not to confuse. I'm not here to tell the pro-life to be pro-choice or pro-choice to be pro-life. These positions are inconsolable. They always have been. They always will be. I'm here to be the voice for the voiceless in the middle, our children and our youth. The children and youth who are already here, already born, that have tremendous needs within them, around them, and their young families striving so hard to keep them together. A politician is here to tell you what you want to hear. A leader is here to tell us what we need to hear. Sometimes the needs of our children and families are very uncomfortable because we don't want to hear those stories, but they're here, they're real, they always will be. I'm here to be that voice for them, to help us work together to be able to build our communities on our children, our youth, and those young families. And I'd appreciate your support on August 2nd. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here this evening. You may step down. We'll go to the next one. These folks come not from near, they come from far. Not just them, but the other candidates that are here. So please, we want to thank them. It doesn't mean applaud them, but just thank them in your own way. We have Carol Lydic, who will be speaking on a representative for the U.S. House of Representatives. Again, Carol, you'll have 3 minutes. Don't forget to watch the smiley guy down there who has the 1 minute, 30 seconds and stop. Okay? All right, thank you.
I'm hoping there are some people in the room who've already met Patrick. He's been to Fort Scott several times to visit with us over the past year, and I'm honored to represent him tonight. He's a Democrat with a deep understanding of the threat facing Kansas and the country, and he's the right candidate to confront it. He's a naval intelligence officer, now a reservist, a 6th-generation Kansan. He served in the Pacific on board the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan and in the Middle East. His family service to this country and the state is long. His great-grandfather served in World War I. His grandfather flew in the Army during World War II before serving as mayor of Pittsburgh, and his parents were both public school teachers. Patrick witnessed the attack on the Capitol last year while stationed in D.C. He was living in an apartment right across the street from where the rioters collected and started to move. After seeing that, he filed to run against a member of the Insurrection Caucus in a district that went for a Democratic governor by 9% in 2018. He is the only Democrat in the race and has received support from a wide array of unions, Vote Vets, Senators Al Franken and Carol Mosley Braun, and also James Carville. He's running to represent working families like his in Congress that have been beaten down and forgotten by those in Washington. In his platform under families, he wants to make a child tax credit permanent. He wants to expand the child care tax credit as well. Fully fund universal pre-K education, and make health care more affordable for children. Under the democracy, he wants to protect U.S. interests from China, defend the U.S. from foreign hackers, and ensure free and fair elections. And folks, we know we've been having those all along. Anybody who's worked in election knows that. Kansans protect markets as for Kansas products, ensure Kansas workers are treated fairly, and rebuild Kansas's decaying infrastructure. Our bridges are sagging. Thank you, and please consider Patrick when you vote August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Our next position is Governor, Lieutenant Governor. We do not have a candidate running, none of the candidates in those positions are here this evening. However, we do have 2 people speaking on their behalf. Carol MacArthur will be coming up to speak on behalf of Laura Kelly and David Toland. So here comes Carol.
You have to know I'm honored to be able to read this for Laura Kelly. To the people of Fort Scott, I'm sorry that I couldn't be here today with you all in person. I greatly appreciate your hard work and support as we work together to put Kansas back on track. I want to share what we have accomplished these past 3 years. My administration worked closely with our local chambers and business communities to attract record-breaking business investment to Kansas. Since I took office, we brought in more than $13 billion in new business investment to the state. That means more dollars in the Kansas economy. We created and retained over 48,000 jobs and reinvested in our roads and bridges with over 1,000 infrastructure projects in the works. We balanced the state budget while paying off state debt. Lastly, as one of our most important economic development tools, we fully funded our schools 4 years in a row, ending the costly cycle of litigation. When I ran for office in 2018, I ran to bring fiscal responsibility back to government. Not only have we made all of these investments, we've been able to do it while cutting taxes. We axed the food tax, saving Kansas families hundreds of dollars a year. We cut property taxes for every Kansas homeowner. And over the next few years, Kansans will collectively save over $1 billion in taxes. I'm fighting to make sure that more money stays in your wallet. We made extraordinary progress these last few years, but there's more work to do. We must finally expand Medicaid so 150,000 hard-working Kansans can get access to affordable health care. In addition, I want to expand moderate-income housing and affordable child care options so that we can grow our workforce just as we're growing the economy. I will also make sure that every Kansan and business owner that needs high-speed internet has it. I'm proud of the work we've accomplished together. I'm going to continue putting Kansas on the road to success, and I hope you'll consider supporting me this November as we keep Kansas moving forward, making our state the best place in the country to raise a family and do business. Respectfully, Laura Kelly.
Thank you, Carol. Rats. Oh, sorry, I did say Carol. Yes, ma'am. But I'll be calling you back up again later.
I know.
Yes, ma'am. I love her glasses, don't you? Honestly. Okay, next person up is Pat Apple. Pat will be speaking on behalf of Derek Schmidt and Kate Sawyer.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation to be here this evening. Special thank you to Mark, and a special thank you to the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting the event. Full disclosure, Mark and I serve on the 6th Judicial District Judicial Nominating Commission. He does a great job, strong voice for Bourbon County, so it's great to work with him. My name is Pat Apple. I'm here tonight to bring greetings from Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt and to convey his regrets that he could not be here in person. Derek grew up in Independence, Kansas, where his family has lived since the 1860s. A young Union soldier, Peter Schmidt, settled there after the Civil War. Derek is very familiar with eastern Kansas, having served in the Kansas Senate in a district that ran from the Oklahoma border to southern Franklin County. Derek Schmidt was elected the 44th Attorney General of Kansas in 2010 and was re-elected in 2014 and 2018. Derek's running mate, Katie Sawyer, grew up in McPherson and is a fifth-generation Kansan, and along with her husband, a fourth-generation owner and operator of their family farm in McPherson County. Derek and Katie are pro-life and are proud to be the only ticket in the governor's race endorsed by Kansans for life. They are pro-Second Amendment and received an A+ rating and are the only ticket in the race endorsed by the NRA. They back the blue and have been endorsed by the Kansas Fraternal Order of Police, Kansas State Troopers Association, and the National Border Patrol Union. They're pro-ag and have been endorsed by the Kansas Farm Bureau. They're endorsed by President Donald Trump, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and the late Senator Bob Dole. We need a governor who understands and believes in personal responsibility and individual freedom and will protect our God-given rights. We need a candidate that has the breadth and depth of experience to successfully administer the responsibilities of the office of governor of the state of Kansas. Perhaps most importantly, we need someone who trusts and listens to Kansans before he determines how to approach a policy question. We have such a candidate in Derek Schmidt. Derek is a good friend with whom I served in the Kansas Senate, and I'm honored to support him in this race. Please join with me in voting for Derek Schmidt for governor. There are a few signs in the lobby. If you're interested, initial information can be found at schmidtforkansas.com. Also, there's information there if you'd like to volunteer, donate, or get a yard sign. We ask for your vote and support. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Our next office is Secretary of State. We have two candidates that are here. We have Mike Brown and Scott Schwab. If you please come up here. Mike?
Yes, sir.
I'll let you go first with the first minute. Please introduce yourself. Our timer will let you know when your time is up. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. My name is Mike Brown, and I want to be your next Kansas Secretary of State. I'm a sixth-generation Kansan. I'm a land developer, home builder, and realtor by trade. Third generation on both of those. In my professional career, I built over 200 houses a year. I built 2,000 structures in my professional career. I'm telling you that because it is critically important that you have electeds across the spectrum, from president to dog catcher, who understand the importance of delivering on time, on budget. In all of those structures I've built, I've never been sued. I'm very proud of that. It says something about integrity. It says something about my commitment. Election integrity first is my platform. The entire campaign has been built on that. I have more to expand on that. But again, my name is Mike Brown, and I want to be your Secretary of State. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. Scott?
Thank you. Thanks to the Chamber for having us here today and having this forum. Thanks to those who are here and also those who are watching online. My name is Scott Schwab. I am the current Secretary of State for the state of Kansas. Got elected in 2018, basically wanting to make sure we help business, which is important to the Chamber. Right now, for example, if you go to open a restaurant, you've got to hit 6 silos of government. Well, we're working to, and once we get off our current software and our current server, which has been taking 4 years because we're going through 11 generations of code, you start that restaurant, you come to us to file your LLC, you click send, you get your restaurant permit, you get your liquor permit, you get your unemployment, and any aid you get from commerce. So we're just trying to make it easier to do business with the state of Kansas. As it relates to elections, we started doing post-election audits, and this is where we like to praise the local clerk because they do a fantastic job. After the election's done, we do a post-election audit, and we've done over 300 since 2019, and not one county has failed their audit, simply because between voter ID and other security measures we put in place have ensured such things. Thank you.
Stay there, Mr. Schwab. We'll give you the first question. What are the 2 biggest issues facing you in your office?
Well, the largest side of the office is the business side, and we came in with an AS400 mainframe computer, and if you're not familiar with that, that was outdated in the late 80s, early 90s. And so when I said we're going through several generations, imagine trying to do computer coding going from Windows 95 to iOS 7 for your Apple iPhone. That's what we're doing. But once we get off that, again, it's about making it easier to do transactions to start new businesses. Because during the shutdown, we were doing still 80 new business startups a day. We normally do about 110. Now we're doing about 135 to 136 new business startups a day. After the shutdown, we found out a lot of people didn't go back to work at the company, but they're creating a company. So we just want to make it as easy as we can for them to interact with government and not have those 6 silos. The other side, obviously, is elections. We show that when people start spreading rumors from other states and other countries about voter fraud in your state, Republican turnout goes down 12 to 18%. Value them both is on the amendment. And we're not in a situation to take rumors from Georgia and Pennsylvania and Nevada and copy and paste to Kansas to suddenly say your local officials were not duly elected, when in fact they were. So our message is a message of hope of Reagan. It's not fear. It's positive. When you get a bad decision from the Kansas Supreme Court, you have a chance as a citizen of the state of Kansas, as a legal elector, to overturn that bad decision, which is why I'm the only candidate in this race endorsed by KFL. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, same question?
So, as the Secretary of State, there are many challenges that need to be addressed. When I am elected your Kansas Secretary of State and I'm sworn in at the Kansas Capitol, I will walk to my new office, and sitting there at my desk will be a stack of papers that we're going to sign to straighten out our elections, to rebuild your confidence in the election process in Kansas. The first thing I'm going to do, and I promise you I'd be very proud to put my signature on it, is the very first thing I do as your Secretary of State. The ballot drop boxes are gone on day one. That's the first thing. The second thing I will do is I will re-implement prosecutorial authority. I will hire a law enforcement official and an attorney to serve with me at my side, and when it is alleged that Kansas election law has been broken, it will be investigated, and if a crime is determined to have occurred, that person will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and I will not back off of that one bit. And I do not care what your title is. I don't care where you live. I do not care. If you break Kansas election laws, you better sleep with one eye open, because we're coming for you. Do not come to our state and meddle in our elections. Elections in Kansas need to be over at 7 p.m. on Election Tuesday, period. All we're doing is counting ballots after 7 p.m. on Election Tuesday. We have got to get these things done. These are critical to the infrastructure, to the psyche, and to the importance of safe and secure elections in our state, and we must follow through on these things. Thank you.
Mike, stay right there for the next question. In your opinion, did Kansas have any voter fraud in the 2020 election? What recommendations would you have, if elected to this office, to improve voter integrity?
So I covered several of those in my last statement right there. The fact is that I have no doubt that at some level there has been voter fraud in our state. It's hard to imagine that there wasn't some somewhere. But to what extent, I don't know, because I'm not the Secretary of State yet. But again, when I am the Secretary of State, I promise you, the ballot drop boxes are gone on day one. We will investigate and prosecute all alleged election crimes. Our Secretary of State right here has not done that for 1 second while he's been your Secretary of State. He has shirked that responsibility, and he has failed you. It is his duty and his statutory obligation to investigate and prosecute those crimes, and he will explain to you with some, weak explanation about how he signed a letter with the Attorney General's office. But I'm here to tell you, I'm not interested in somebody else enforcing election security in our state. That is the duty of the Secretary of State, and I will carry that banner proudly. I promise you these things are going to happen. I also want to point out that when a judge has to make you do your job, something is terribly wrong. I also want to point out that when a judge throws out 2 elections in our state, there is a failure of leadership and something is terribly wrong. When voters in Lawrence, Kansas receive 2 hot ballots in the mail, there is a failure of leadership and something is desperately wrong. And the common thread in that is we have a failure in leadership from Scott Schwab. Thank you.
Scott, you're next. Do you want me to read the question again?
No, we're good.
Okay, thank you.
We saw no signs of widespread fraud, and we worked both with the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, the National Guard, and our current Attorney General to investigate top to bottom on any accusations, some of which were a concern, but when we got through the evidence, there was nothing to prosecute. And the reason why we partner with Derek Schmidt on prosecution is because he has the store chest of all the prosecutors in the KBI. So why would you duplicate government and take on another prosecutor when in this exact same building, there's several of them there? And as it relates to 2020, my opponent here certified the 2020 election in Johnson County. So then we did a post-election audit, and not one county failed. It comes to the narrative where you see anomalies in other states, and you copy and paste it here. As it relates to what the appellate court judge said, he's taken the position, my opponent has agreed with the Democrats, the ACLU, saying that your personal voter data should be made public. I don't agree with the ACLU on that. I don't agree with the Democrat Party on that. Your ballot is your business. And I know and we're going to appeal that decision because it's terrifying that suddenly people can start knocking on your door about your personal ballot. That's between you and the ballot box. And if you have a caretaker, you're a caretaker. And we will not stop fighting. And Derek Schmidt has been a great partner with us on this case to protect your voter information. And so, yes, the judge says we need to release it. It cannot be released at this time.
Scott, stay there. You'll get the next question, which is there something you can do in your office to streamline the opening and operating of a business in the state of Kansas? You already indicated there's a number of things, but is there anything else?
Yeah, so this is really the heart of what we campaigned on 4 years ago, and is really what we're trying to do going forward. Like I said, we're on an AS400. It's when we're done with it, I'm going to have to donate it to the State Historical Society. But really what happens, I'm going to go back and elaborate on that restaurant you put downtown here in Fort Scott. The first thing you do is you file your LLC with us. Then what do you do? Well, then you got to go to the Department of Ag and get your ag permit. Or you're going to have a bar in there and sell wine, liquor, and spirits. Well, now you got to go to Revenue and get that permit. Oh, you have employees. Guess what? You got to go over to Labor and get that. Oh, you wanted help from Commerce Department? Now you got to go over there and get that. If we can finish this project, and won't somebody coming in and unplugging it and it goes away, you'll be able to go there, fill out the wizard, click send, and all those permits come to you. You don't have to go to the other side of the government. And West Virginia does this already, by the way. West flipping Virginia. And they use a Kansas software company to make it happen. There's no reason we can't, except for one, we're on an outdated system. And here's where this gets advantageous. We told the folks in Wichita, I said, you're an aviation hub, right? What's that based on? It's tradition. What if I could give you data that says, hey, you have now at Fort Scott 20 new software development companies filing in our office a day right now? Would you have a new conversation with the community college to say, we need to develop workforce and we need curriculum to help create it? And we could provide that data to your county for free, and you won't have to hire a consultant out in New York.
Okay, thank you. Mike, want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
All right. Is there something you can do in this office when elected to streamline the operating and opening of a business in the state of Kansas?
So there are several things that can be done, but I want to focus on this. Our agricultural partners in our state have to sit down at a computer and file their annual report sometime mid-May. In mid-May, our farm and ag community needs to be planting seed and getting ready to feed us for next year. They don't need to be sitting at a computer doing that. The agricultural world needs to be set up, and I mean anyone connected to the ag world in terms of supply, the supply chain at any level connected to ag, needs to be set up to be on a 5 or 7 year auto renewal. They pay times the money, but they only do it once every 5 or 7 years. I will go to the legislature, I'll work to get that done for our agricultural partners. I want to follow up on a comment that I had made earlier, and I want to make it perfectly clear. Our Kansas Secretary of State broke the law. It is not up to our Secretary of State to decide what laws he's going to enforce and when he will enforce them. That is the legislature's job, and that is the judge's job. Scott Schwab is completely out of his lane making a decision to disenfranchise 3 million Kansans by hiding your information from you so you couldn't see it, so you couldn't get to it. And it begs the question, why? Why would you do that? Why would you hide information from Kansas voters? Why would you do that? I'd love to hear an answer to that. It'd be pretty handy, considering I can't seem to find him anywhere but right here. I'm glad to hear you're healthy and you're alive, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we've had really good conversation back and forth, but I forgot who started first. So Scott did. So Mike, you'll have 2 minutes for closing. Thank you.
As I started this out, my name is Mike Brown, and I want to be your Kansas Secretary of State. I am a conservative with a capital C. I am pro-Second Amendment. I am pro-life to no end. I believe in smaller government and less taxes at every level, and I will run the Secretary of State's office with these principles in mind. I am looking forward to serving as the Kansas Secretary of State, and I will proudly do that for you, because it will be my singular goal, with nothing in my way, to make Kansas the election integrity gold standard of America. It is critical that we have that confidence and that the people of Kansas are looked at far and wide as the gold standard of election integrity. I'm going to wrap up with this. It is critical that you go vote on August 2nd, and here's why. It has nothing to do with me being on the ballot, and it has nothing to do with him being on the ballot, nothing at all with the person. It has to do with an issue on the Value Them Both Amendment. It is critical that you go vote and that you grab your neighbors, you grab your friends, you grab the people you work with, your grandkids, you get them there. You must get them there. It is razor thin. It is tight. I've seen the polling. It's close. It must get over the line, and here's why. It is a once in Kansas history generational opportunity to make Kansas known far and wide as a culture of life. And we must put our foot down and say, this is where we draw the line. Kansas is a culture of life. And you got to get out there, I've got to get out there, we've all got to get out there, and we've got to vote. My name is Mike Brown. I ask for your prayers. I ask for your vote. It has been an honor to be in front of you this evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening. Please step off the stage here. Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry.
You got a lot going on. It's okay. But I'm going to step in if that's okay. Real quick, when you insult Kansas elections, voters don't want to vote. They don't want to vote. Whether it's the Democrats saying there's voter suppression, Democrats don't want to vote. If you say there's voter fraud, Republicans don't want to vote. This is why I like to praise the work that our clerks like Ashley does here. They work really hard. Poll workers work really, really hard. Some of them get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to set up that polling place so you can go vote in person and cast your ballot. They're not a bunch of frauds. They're not cheaters. They're just honest workers doing a civic duty. And they work really hard to make this community shine as it relates to elections. As it relates to the appellate court, the district court said we obeyed the law. The appellate court said we didn't obey the law. We'll see what the Supreme Court does. It's jurisprudence. You go through the various levels. I disagree with the opinion, so does Garrett Schmidt. That's why we're going to appeal to the Supreme Court. And the data is your personal ballot information. You do want a Secretary of State that protects your data, whether it's from foreign adversaries or political activists who want to intimidate you about your ballot. That should be a concern. You know, I grew up in the age of Reagan. It's a message of hope as a conservative Republican. It's a positive message. It's not populism. Populists take your fear, something they see that doesn't look right, and they stir up your anger, and they sell it in the town square for money and political power. I'm just going to tell you, go vote. It counts. Your ballot will be secured. And as it relates to drop boxes, what's that blue thing outside the post office? It's a drop box. You put your ballot in there, it leaves the state, and the state has no control. But if you put it in one outside Ashley's office, guess what? It gets carried in by 2 people of 2 different parties with 2 keys, sworn to Kansas law, to ask poll workers to bring it in and make sure your ballot counts. That's why Rodney Davis in Congress is asking me to come to D.C. to announce their new bill based on Kansas law. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, I apologize for faux pawing there, and I've often learned I have to slow down to speed up. Our next office is Attorney General, and on behalf of Chris Mann, we have Carol MacArthur that's going to speak. Carol, you're back up again. 3 minutes. And we're not counting the time it takes to walk here, so you're okay. I won't touch your glasses and thank you.
Chris wrote a beautiful statement, which is probably going to be far too long. So, whoop.
There you go.
Now I feel more powerful. That's very important to me. Chris Mann is all about law and order. Law enforcement and public safety are what he's working for, not politics. He started out in 1998 as a police officer in Lawrence, Kansas, wasn't out of college yet. He'd found his calling, he loved it. He was terribly injured 4 years later when a drunk driver hit him, threw him 30 feet. He recovered after some time, but he still limps and other things. I'm sorry I'm breathing into that. But he couldn't continue being a police officer. So as a result, he changed careers. He went to Washburn Law, went to Wyandotte County as a prosecutor. He was especially interested, though, in cases having to do with drunk driving and deaths and severe injuries resulted from that. And so he got involved with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. He did some legislative work in Kansas and eventually became the chair of the National Mothers Against Drunk Driving Board. He traveled the country speaking to victims, industry leaders, the NFL, and law enforcement. He then went on to start his own law practice and focused on helping the victims of drunk drivers and their families. This year, he changed his focus, though, to include serving Kansas in another way, and that's why he's running for Kansas Attorney General. He says it's time to refocus that office on public safety and law enforcement, not politics. Chris will make sure that law enforcement has the resources they need to do their jobs safely. He wants to make sure Kansas families and their communities are safe. He wants to make sure we can protect our rights and our Constitution, defend the Constitution. His focus is going to be law enforcement. He wants to fill vacant positions in that office to make sure we can hold offenders accountable across the state. He will strengthen consumer protection to stop fraud. We've seen an increase in criminals taking advantage of people during the pandemic, and he's going to focus on stopping Medicaid fraud. All in all, he says there's so much we can do together to make Kansas a safer place to live, work, and raise a family. And he looks forward to making that happen as our Attorney General.
Thank you, Carol. We do have one of the people running for Attorney General. He's right here down front. He'll be coming up. This is Tony Mativi. Tony hails from Topeka, so he had a little bit of drive to get here. So, Tony, you'll have 1 minute for an opening statement, and I have questions for you.
I have answers.
All right, appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Mativi. I have never held political office before, and I've never even run for political office. First of all, thank you to the Chamber for having us here. Secondly, you've heard about Mr. Mann. If you're a registered Democrat, you'll see his name on your ballot. If you're a registered Republican, you'll see my name along with 2 other Republicans running for Attorney General. I am the only candidate for Attorney General who is a prosecutor. The Kansas Attorney General is the chief law enforcement official of the state. I truly believe that our chief law enforcement official ought to be a law enforcement official. I spent 30 years as a prosecutor going from the DA's office in Topeka, where I prosecuted everything from speeding tickets to murder cases, to the Kansas Attorney General's office, to the United States Attorney's office, where I prosecuted everything from meth labs to drug trafficking to national security cases, including a deployment as a civilian to Iraq, where I helped the Iraqis convict and later execute Chemical Ali. And then I spent almost 5 years as the lead prosecutor on the USS Cole bombing case. So when you go to the ballot, I hope that you will select the prosecutor on the ticket to be your chief law enforcement official.
Tony, this first question might be kind of a repeat, but what is your prosecuting experience and at what level? You may have already answered that, but please, you have 90 seconds.
Yeah, that's okay. I welcome the opportunity. So when I started law school, I had been a paramedic, so I expected that I would do something healthcare related. But the summer after my first year of law school, I interned in the DA's office, and I knew from the moment that I walked in the door that I wanted to be a prosecutor. So I started in the DA's office in Topeka, prosecuting speeding tickets, worked my way up to murder cases, went to the Kansas Attorney General's office, where I prosecuted arson and explosives cases across the state. Then I started with the U.S. Attorney's Office in 1998 prosecuting meth lab cases. That developed into a specialty where I was doing complex drug organization cases. Then I had the opportunity to go to Iraq, where I helped 4 Iraqi prosecutors who were prosecuting what was called the 1991 Intifada uprising case, a murder case with 2,500 victims. We helped the Iraqis try a case of such massive magnitude in a war zone during a war. I came back to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Topeka, and I handled the office's death penalty litigation. A lot of people don't know the Kansas Attorney General plays a role in every single death penalty case that's prosecuted in state court in Kansas, and I'm the only attorney in the race who's ever handled a death penalty case. I then spent 5 years as a civilian deployed to Guantanamo to prosecute the USS Cole bombing case. I led a joint military-civilian team of prosecutors standing in front of a military judge at Guantanamo prosecuting the guy that bin Laden sent to Yemen to blow up the USS Cole. And then for the last 7, 8 years of my career, I prosecuted national security cases right here in Kansas, including a number that you have heard of, including the Wichita Airport bomber, the Fort Riley bomber, and the guys in Garden City that wanted to blow up the apartment building there. So I've prosecuted every type of case at every level, really.
Okay, next question. If elected, what will you do to improve your department?
So I think Derek has done a really fine job. A lot of people don't realize that when Derek Schmidt took over as Attorney General almost 12 years ago, he was the 4th Attorney General in 5 years. That's a lot of turnover in that office. So I think he's done a really good job of getting that under control and consolidating the resources in the office so that it is a good, steady ship sailing ahead forward. I'm not campaigning against what has happened for the last 12 years. I'm campaigning against giving the Attorney General's office over to a politician. I think that when you are the chief law enforcement official of the state, you should be making decisions based on a career's worth of experience as a prosecutor and not based on a political agenda or on what office you're going to be campaigning for next. I don't believe the AG's office is a consolation prize, and I don't believe that it's a political springboard. And I believe I'm the only candidate in the race who can honestly tell you that I'm running to be the best Attorney General that I can possibly be and not to use the office for another purpose, whether it's a political agenda or a political campaign.
All right, thank you. Last question. Can Kansas afford to sue Joe Biden?
So look, you'll hear both of my opponents on the Republican side talk about creating another division in the AG's office to sue this administration. I profoundly disagree with that. I think it's a horrible idea, and here's why. This administration is reaching into our lives in unprecedented ways. I agree with that. I think the AG has to be ready to push back. And when it's time, it will be my pleasure and my privilege to push back against this administration. I'll be delighted to be the attorney standing at the podium arguing against any sort of federal overreach into our lives. But here's the problem with their proposal. The Attorney General's office doesn't have unlimited resources. So to create another division, those candidates are going to have to do one of two things. Either they're going to have to come ask you for more money, which as a fiscally conservative Republican I will never do, or they will have to divert resources away from other areas of the office. And as a law enforcement professional and a seasoned litigator, I will never do that. There are 12 divisions in the AG's office. Criminal Litigation Division, Civil Division, Consumer Protection, Crime Victims Compensation, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. I believe that the work that those divisions do is too important to have resources diverted away from those divisions to focus on a new division that sues the federal administration. Not to mention, what do we do in 2 years when we have a Republican president, which I believe we're going to have?
Okay, Tony, it's time for your 2-minute closing statement. Please feel free.
I think this race presents a very sharp contrast between a career prosecutor and 2 career politicians. Both of my opponents are seasoned politicians, and if you're okay with the idea of your chief law enforcement official being a politician, there are 2 politicians in the race for you to choose from in the Republican primary. But if you insist that your chief law enforcement official actually be a law enforcement official, I am the only candidate in the race with those qualifications. If you insist that our state's top lawyer actually be a seasoned, experienced, professional, respected, ethical lawyer, and not a politician, I am the only candidate in the race with those qualifications. I don't believe that we need another career politician in Topeka, and I especially don't believe that we need a career politician in the AG's office. So when you go to the ballot on August 2nd, if you're a registered Republican, when it comes time to vote for your Attorney General, I hope that you will vote for me, Tony Mattivi. I hope you'll visit my website. It's www.tonymativi.com. One of the things that you'll see there is that I have the endorsement of more than 50 law enforcement leaders across the state, more than 20 sheriffs, more than 30 sitting prosecutors, district attorneys, and county attorneys. Neither of my Republican opponents has a single endorsement from a sitting prosecutor. I believe that speaks volumes about what your prosecutor and the prosecutors in this state believe the AG's qualifications should be. They want a prosecutor because they know that a prosecutor will have their backs. Finally, I'm outside. If you'd like a yard sign or materials, please come see me and get some. As you mentioned, I'm headed back to Topeka fairly soon. It'd be my pleasure to provide those with you, meet you, shake your hand, and say hello. So thank you again very much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Tony, thank you so much for coming this far. I appreciate it very much. Our next office is going to be for State Treasurer. State Treasurer, Karen Tyson. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You know, I appreciate people driving so far. Karen probably has the most miles logged on her car, though, because if I'm not mistaken, she'll probably say something about how many counties she's been in. Statewide office, 105 counties. Have you visited them? All of them, please. You'll have a 1-minute opening statement. I actually have questions for you, just like we did with Tony, and then you'll have a 2-minute closing.
Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm a little shorter than the podium, so it's nice to see you guys. Tyson for treasurer. Tyson for treasurer. Tyson for treasurer. You may ask yourself why. Because I have the experience, the education, and you guys know I will get the job done. I want to do several things with the treasurer's office, but one of the first things is transparency. Think about this. How many of us can see to the transaction level of where our money's being spent? We can't. I'm a software engineer. I have a computer science degree from K-State, math degree from K-State, master's in engineering from KU. I want to put those transactions online so we can actually see where your tax dollars are being spent, or our tax dollars are being spent. Also, accountability. By putting the transactions online, we will hold government accountable.
Stay right there, Karen. Okay, first question. Why should we vote for you over the other candidate?
Right, Tyson for treasurer, and the reason is because I do have the experience and will get the job done. You guys know that most of the problems that are facing us nowadays, those solutions are with technology. I have the experience. One of the systems that I worked on was the largest financial system in the nation, TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan. We need to take examples like that and help actually save capers. My opponent says they've saved capers. They haven't. They've just kicked the can down the road. And the unfunded liability, in about a month or two, you're going to see that it's through the roof. We need actual solutions, and I am the candidate that will do that. The other thing I want to do is put Kansas first. When we're investing Kansas taxpayer money in capers, PMIB, we need to make sure that that money is not invested in countries like Russia and China. We had over $36 million in Russia. My opponent's trying to walk back his language that said the legislature shouldn't get involved in divesting from Russia. I disagree with that. We need to stand strong and make sure that our investments are helping Kansas first, especially with programs like the 529 and 529A, the Learning Quest and Disabled. ABLE Act. You guys may have heard of those. They're tax-deferred savings programs that help Kansans help themselves.
Okay, next question is, what would be your top 3 priorities when entering office?
Well, you've heard me mention them: transparency, accountability, and Kansas first. Let's put the transactions online. Let's hold government accountable. We used to have an auditor in the state of Kansas. That functionality is in the governor's office. You guys, it's the fox in the hen house, not watching the hen house. And we need to move that functionality so that we have a second set of eyes on expenditures. I can give you a quick example. When I'm coming through the books as a legislator, a few years ago, I saw that one employee, state employee, for less than a 2-week period, had a $16,000 cell phone bill. Most of us didn't know about it. If you get my newsletter, you did know about it. But we need to hold government accountable for its spending. The Treasurer's Office can do that. You guys, I know I'm currently the state senator, and I've had a privilege serving in that capacity. You guys know more than anybody, I will work diligently as the state treasurer to make sure that we have smaller, smarter government, and that the legislature has the tool set that they need, not just a budget, but the line item for the transactions of where it's being spent, so that we can make legislators more efficient in their job too. The other thing I want to do with the office, you guys, I say Kansas first. There's linked programs. There's short-term, low-interest loans that local banks can use to help agriculture and small businesses. Again, we need to make Kansas a priority.
Okay, Karen, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you guys very much. Last year, I was named National Legislator of the Year for my work on transparency legislation. You guys know that I can and I will get the job done. There is a clear choice in this race. There's big differences between me and my opponents. I am the only candidate in this race who has fought to cut your taxes and to fought against all tax increases, but my opponent voted for the 2 largest tax increases. One of those tax increases made us the 2nd highest in the nation for sales tax on food. There's a clear choice in this race again, too. You can count on me to defend your constitutional rights. My opponent has voted to restrict your First Amendment, freedom of speech, your Second Amendment, your right to carry, and your Fourth Amendment right, property and privacy rights. I will stand strong. You may not think this is important with the Treasurer's Office, but how many of you have heard about environmental social governance ratings? BlackRock. Those are issues that are coming fast. The winds on the East Coast and the West Coast are trying to impact our finances in the state of Kansas and how we govern. We must have a state treasurer that will stand against this liberal agenda trying to influence our finances in the state of Kansas. I have a proven track record, and I will get the job done. But you guys, nobody does anything alone up there. With all my awards and efforts, it's a team effort. So I asked you to join Team Tyson, and I ask for your vote August 2nd, and I ask you to join me in fighting the good fight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, our next area is Commissioner of Insurance. And it's okay.
It's there.
Yeah. I don't believe there's no one here for Commissioner of Insurance. So then we will go to the next area, which is the Kansas House of Representatives. And we did not have either of the 2 gentlemen in office. Ken Collins or Trevor Jacobs cannot make it. So we are at the State Board of Education. There are 2 gentlemen here from the State Board of Education. There's a Luke and a Jim, am I correct? They're coming down now as we speak. Terrific. Sir, why don't you go ahead and take the first minute to introduce yourself to everybody?
Thank you, and thank the Chamber of Commerce for having us here. Does that count? I guess my 3 minutes and 5 minutes. Thank you, and we thank the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to be here this evening to talk about the important role of the Kansas State Board of Education and the education of children in Kansas. I am the current chairman of the State Board of Education. I have been elected by my colleagues twice to serve in that position. I'm a lifelong educator, started my career many, many years ago as a band and choir teacher, and then became an assistant principal and a principal, and have served in that capacity for about the last 47 years. Being on the State Board of Education is one of the most challenging and rewarding things I've ever done. I am a husband of 44 years. My wife has been in other activities that represented me tonight, so she could not be here. Father of 3 adult children and 4 grandchildren who are, like yours, the greatest grandchildren in the world. And they are all attending 2 attending Kansas and 2 attending inferior schools in other states.
Thank you, sir. Luke, you're up. 1 minute, please.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for everyone coming out tonight. My name is Luke Heikley. I'm from McPherson, just up the road. I've been married 17 years to my wife. We have 4 children, and we have 1 due in November, and that is our 4th, but it's a beating heart, so I consider that already having a child. I am the only candidate to be endorsed by Kansas for Life, so I think that's very important. I was pretty proud of that. I'm a business owner. I own a barbershop, and I have interest in some other companies. And whenever I got nominated to run for the Board of Education, I wasn't sure about it at first. And immediately I seen we have 6 Republicans and 4 Democrats on the board. But in the last 4 years, 99% of the time, it's 9-1 in a Democrat favor. So I don't feel like our constituents are being very well represented up at the Kansas State Board level. So thank you.
Luke, stay right there. You're going to get the first question, please. Our first question is, how does your representation on the state board help our local school district serve students?
Well, I think it at least sets the example. So I think everyone would agree that our education right now is going in a left direction away from some of our Kansas values. I don't think it's any coincidence that it's been such a lopsided vote lately from 9-1, 1 lone Republican standing for conservative values. And I think that trickles down to the state level, or to the local level, to how school boards represent their students, their parents, their teachers, the job of the superintendents. I think that the state level, it sets the grand example of how it's supposed to be ran down throughout the state and local levels. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Jim, same question. Would you like me to repeat it? Okay. How does your representation on the state board help our local school district serve our students?
I worked with boards of education for over 30 years and have a really good understanding of how they operate and what they need. State Board of Education is an organization of support. There is a very clear difference between the responsibilities of the State Board of Education and the local Board of Education. The State Board of Education is concerned with the licensure of teachers, the qualifications of teachers. The local Board of Education chooses who those teachers are. The State Board of Education is concerned with curriculum standards so that we can determine what those standards are. The local Board of Education actually chooses the curriculum materials for that district and the actual curriculum for that district. We have all sorts of expertise in the Department of Education that works under the Board of Education for the opportunity to help districts implement their curriculum, implement their design, implement their planning so that they can make a difference in the lives of these students. I need to make one correction. We do have a member on the State Board of Education that votes against every issue that requires federal funding.
Our votes are public. Our meetings are public. Our votes are unanimous the majority of the time, and there are also other times that I've been the one vote many times, not many times, there have been 3 times when it's been a 9-to-1 vote, and I've been the one vote. So that is not a correct statement.
Stay right there, sir. You get the next question. The next question is, what is the biggest challenge facing school districts? How do we fix those?
It's going to be difficult to determine what the biggest challenge is because there are a number of big challenges, but I'm going to talk about one that I think is extremely important, and that is the fact that we are going to run out of qualified teachers in the very near future because there are more teachers retiring than there are in the pipeline. And I think there are 2 reasons for that. First of all, we need to pay people more. We need to pay them more. Kansas is the 44th, ranks 44th in compensation of teachers. And we need to work with school districts and the state in order to correct that. But something else that is critically important is that we need to honor and respect the people in the classroom. They are true professionals. In my view, they are heroes, and I believe it's our responsibility and our duty to support them, to honor them, and to listen to them and let them help us make the decisions because they're the ones on the front line. And if you're on the front line, you know more than the person sitting back in the office or sitting in Topeka. You are the ones that need to be listened to so you can help us make the right decisions that benefit each child in Kansas.
Okay, Luke, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, thanks.
Okay.
So I think the biggest problem can be kind of a 2-headed monster. I do agree with him that losing teachers at an alarming rate. A lot of the ones retiring are taking early retirement. It's not something that is, they're just all coming to age at the same time. The other problem is people aren't going to school to be teachers. I don't think they're feeling the support from administration. I don't feel like they're feeling support from parents. So I think there's some room to work there on that relationship between those two. But I also think teachers are getting put in positions to work outside of their job scope. I'm hearing daily in my line of work that teachers are coming in saying they're expected to basically raise these children. And there's a lot of social emotional learning going on, trying to implement certain new processes, some of them not so new. And it's putting teachers outside of a different job scope. They went to school to educate and to shape these children, and so a lot of them feel uncomfortable. They're getting put in more of a psychology type of a role. And all 3 of the AGs that are running have mentioned that one of their biggest problems they're facing is the liberal, woke left influence. If we don't think that's happening at our school level, I think you're kidding yourself. So I think we need a conservative that'll stand up and bring education back to the middle. 2 + 2 does not have a political view. So, thanks.
Luke, stay right there. Next question. Are there better ways to measure student outcomes than assessment data?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that are financially driven. So between assessment data, test scores, they've all kind of become trigger words. But at the same time, I don't agree with the incumbent that social and emotional learning takes higher precedence than academic learning. So I think we just need to basically take some accountability and not move the goalposts on those test scores and assessment tests. And I think that's what's happening. I see a shift of importance with the time being spent in the classroom on the data collection and the social emotional side of things and getting a little further away from the academic side. It's no surprise that 60% of our students in the state of Kansas are under grade level. So, what's the explanation there? It's declined consistently since 2015, pre-COVID. I know they like to blame everything on COVID, but since 2015, our budgets have went up over $1 billion for public education. But our test scores, our assessments, everything have went down. That's more money and less product. That doesn't really make sense in about any one of our lives.
Thank you, sir. Jim, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Assessment scores are important. They are not the only thing that's important. Yes, we want kids to be academically prepared. We need to do everything we can to make sure they're academically prepared. But we took tours across this state and talked to people in 50 different communities. And what they told us was consistent. Academic performance is important, but so is critical thinking. So is the ability to do employability skills. So are technical skills. And then the business community told us we want people that are willing to be civically engaged. Academics are important, but no matter how smart you are, if you can't apply it, it's not going to mean anything. To be prepared for a job is great. To have the academic skills to have that job is great, but you are not going to be able to be successful in that job if you don't have the skills to show up on time, to work with your neighbors, to be a collaborative worker, and to be a problem solver. Yes, it is very important to have academic skills, and we have to make sure that we do better when it comes to the assessment scores, but that's not the only thing. We have to make sure that kids are prepared for life. Kids are graduating from Kansas schools at the highest rate ever in the history of the state, and they are graduating with more college hours and more industry-recognized certificates than ever before in the history of the state. I'm very proud of that, but the fact is we need to step that up so that every child that graduates from a Kansas school is ready for the next stage of their life, whatever it is.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Luke, you'll be closing first. 2 minutes, please.
I just want to thank everybody for having us out here tonight. I know our schedules are busy and take the evening out to listen to everyone running. I made a stand a couple years ago with my business. It took me all the way to Topeka. I spoke in front of the Senate twice. And I learned that we just need people that'll stand up and fight for our Kansas values, fight for our kids, fight for the teachers. And I think I've demonstrated that I can do that. I'm willing to do that in tough situations. I am part of multiple boards back in McPherson, the Main Street Committee, the Planning and Zoning Appeal Board. I speak at both colleges regularly with their entrepreneurial programs and their business classes. And I'm also on 2 different scholarship boards to vote on scholarships. I do feel like skills are important after school. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing a lack of. I've talked to college professors that have said they've never seen students so unprepared for school. 38% of kids going into college are immediately taking remedial classes. And 37% of those students are not leaving with a diploma. They're leaving school with nothing to show for it, between $40,000 and $60,000 in debt. And I don't think that is preparing kids for school. I'm a product of a trade school. I promote trade schools and getting to work after high school above most people. And I don't think kids are prepared for that either. But they're also made to feel like they're second rate if that's what they're doing. So I think in today's day and age, we need to bring an emphasis back on trade schools, learning a skill, getting out there and working, and supplying workers for the shortage that we have. So thanks for listening tonight.
Thank you.
Every student in Kansas deserves the opportunity to develop their skills, interests, talents, and passions while they're in school. We have developed what is called an individual plan of study. We want to help each student determine what their interests are, what their abilities are, and what their passions are early on. If you do that, you don't experiment 3 years in college and get the debt. And then the most important thing in those situations that you can learn is what you don't like, so that you don't have to make that decision after you change your major. I am a lifelong, passionate supporter of public education. I believe that every child deserves a quality education. It is our responsibility to see that there is a quality teacher in every classroom, and that we give our support to that quality teacher and give them the training necessary. I had the opportunity to chair the Dyslexia Task Force. There are a number of students that are unable to read because of that disability. We now, instead of waiting for years and trying implementation of things, we actually screen kids not only as soon as we get them in kindergarten, but throughout the years. We are in the process of training every teacher that teaches reading the science of reading, so that they can implement those programs early on and catch kids before they fail. And beyond that, we are requiring any teacher's college that teaches kids, that teaches students, to make sure that their professors are able to teach that skill to the teachers, to the people that are going to be teaching kids. Again, I thank you for being here. This is an exciting thing. Thank you for the Chamber of Commerce, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, gentlemen. Exit right over here, please. Thank you again for coming. Our next area is the County Commission, District 1. County Commission, District 1. We have 3 candidates, I believe, that are here. Clint Walker, Nelson Blythe, and Donald Kaufman. Would you please come to the stage? While I have an extra 30 seconds here, so I don't add to the end of the night, thank you so much for staying here so long. To many of us in the room, it's very important that we have these discussions, as much or more so with our local candidates that are running for office. And so please listen carefully, because we have the greatest country in the face of the earth. We have a great state, but it doesn't function without you and without I. You need to be an active participant in government. Coming to city commission meetings, county commission meetings, and be an active listener is very important. What we can do to work collaboratively is more important than what we do about fighting against each other. Clint, you're standing up, so why don't you come right to the podium? That'll be the easiest. And you do your 1 minute opening. Is that okay? All right, thank you.
I grew up in Bourbon County, graduated high school, went off to the Army, spent 22 years in public service in the Army. Come back in 2000, and I've been married for 46 years. If you want to know what the secret to a happy marriage is, she has a big cast iron skillet. But other than that, I have ideas to make Bourbon County better, and I have participated in a lot of organizations in Bourbon County to help people behind the scenes that has not been seen. And I would appreciate your vote. I think I can make it better.
Thank you, Clint. We'll go right in order. Yes, sir, go ahead. Yes, you're next. Sorry, I forgot. You asked me to speak up, and I was not speaking up, so I apologize.
You're doing good.
Well, I can speak louder, see? I want to wake up the people that are asleep out there.
Yeah. Good evening, Bourbon County voters. I would first like to thank you for coming to the 2022 primary election candidate forum. I would like to start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong resident of Bourbon County. Been married to my wife, Quita, for 32 years. Together we have 3 beautiful daughters and 5 wonderful grandchildren, all who reside within Bourbon County. If I am elected to represent District 1 as Bourbon County Commissioner, I promise to work hard for economic development and work open-mindedly with all department heads toward responsible spending. With my experience at the city, county, and state levels, I believe I can help maintain the asphalt and gravel roads at a cheaper and more affordable rate than we are right now. I also have the experience of running my own business and
feel I have what it takes to do the job efficiently and save you, the voters and taxpayers of Bourbon County, and grow our community. I appreciate your vote on August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Nelson, you're next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nelson Blythe. I'm born and raised in Uniontown, Kansas, on my family's ranch. I'm married to my wife of 6 years, Anna Blythe, who I met at Pittsburgh State University. In 2016, I graduated Pittsburgh State with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a 3.7 GPA. After college, I was hired by the Bourbon County Sheriff's Office, where I worked as a deputy for approximately 4 years. I'm currently a Linn County Sheriff's Deputy. What voters need to know about me is that I'm extremely conservative and I'm a devout Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and his shed blood is the only way we can be made right with him. I believe the Bible is the Word of God and that it needs to affect our private and our public lives and everything we do. If asked if my religion will affect my judgment in office, my answer is absolutely yes.
Okay, stay right there. You're going to get the first question. Okay. Would you support a tax increase for law enforcement? If so, how much of an increase?
Okay, so I don't support raising taxes. And at this time, no, I would not support a tax increase, even for my brothers in law enforcement. However, what people need to understand is taxes are going to go up every year regardless of the actions that the commission takes due to ad valorem taxes, taxes based on assessed valuation increase. And I would have nothing to do with those, but I would not increase a tax raise that was under my control.
Nelson, would you just give the microphone to Clint over there so he can answer that question? Clint, don't get up. You can just answer from there if that's okay. Whatever you want.
My answer to law enforcement on a tax increase would be a flat no. You got to look at the increase. I've been at the county commission meetings and they talk about, well, it went up 127%. It consumes 57% of our budget. You know, there's a thing out there that says enough for reasonable law enforcement. That's the key. Reasonable law enforcement. And you know, that's what I'd like to see, just that they take and stay within their budget and enforce the law reasonably. Give you an example. They said they had 7,000 calls. Great. A call can be, I am taking lunch. I'm back from dinner. They count that as your 7,000 calls. No. You got to take and break the statistics down and find out exactly what the calls are. And it's the same way, they're going to put a fuel thing out at the thing to save 82 cents a gallon, which should have been done a long time ago. There's savings in this county that can happen, and you have to work and be able to manage every department. And if you're an elected official, all the county can do is give you guidance. You can't run their shop. You give them a budget, and they should be able to manage it. Thank you.
All right, Donald, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yeah, if you would.
Okay. Do you support a tax increase for law enforcement? If so, how much of an increase?
I do not support a tax increase for law enforcement. I think we need to work within our budget, and I think we need to work on that very hard because we are a poor county. Our taxes are high enough now. I don't think the businesses want to increase their taxes, or do you want your taxes to go up? So I'm against it.
All right, stay right there. Next question. Would you support an out-of-county review of all departments to bring spending under control?
Well, maybe, but I think we can do it within house, and I think we need to do it. We need to stay within our budget and, you know, work hard to keep from raising taxes. And I really don't support that out of county coming and checking ours. I mean, that's just another expense in my books. So
Okay.
that's how I feel.
Thank you. Clint? Would you support an out-of-county review of all departments to bring spending under control?
My answer would be no, period. And the reason I say that is that's the reason you elect a county commissioner. That person should be the person sitting up there making decisions, going down line by line budgets, asking the tough questions of why you're wanting to take and raise your budgets, and don't let somebody wiggle off the hook. Believe me, I ran a facility that was $22.6 million. I had to meet a budget. And guess what? We were supposed to have 21 people. And guess what? Me and wife got to doing the math, and I had 10. 10. If you only have 10 people and you still manage a 98% success rate, that's pretty good. And I went to my boss, and you know what he told me? He said, Sergeant Walker, you're the only person that's fit his budget down and only had 2 cents left in it. Well, guess what? I was the only department head that ever had to go someplace else to ask for toilet paper. Thank you.
Thanks, Clint. Nelson, same question. Want me to reread it, or are you good?
I'm all right.
Okay.
Initial response would be, no, I wouldn't support that. You know, it would depend on who's deciding who's going to be doing the audit and what their motives are. So initially, no, I wouldn't support that. Mr. Walker is actually right. It is the commissioner's job to audit all budgets.
Stay right there. Next question. This is very important to the majority of all of us out here as I look out here. The question is, would you support a freeze on raising taxes for those of us that are 65 and older?
Yes, if it could be done. I don't know the details of, I don't want to make a promise that I can't keep. But if it is within my power, then yes, I would.
Okay, thank you. Donald?
Yes, I would support that because I'll be 65 here in about another year.
All right, see? That's what I like, right to the point, thank you. We do have more questions because you folks are important to all of us here. Yes, Clint?
What question was that on the taxes?
Sure, so would you support a freeze on raising taxes for those 65 and older?
Well, I'm 65.
You're only 65?
And I will tell you this much. There's some things that I do not support. And as one of them would be, for me, to raise taxes, I don't have a problem with it because I did good enough that I retired and I could afford those tax increases. And I think that if you're going to do something like that, it would be just like a tax code across the nation. If you don't make a certain amount, then
income-based.
And that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Stay right there. Next question. What areas of expertise can you bring to the commission that would be different than what we currently have?
One of the big things in my career in the Army, I managed people. I managed budgets. I managed equipment. That's a big county thing, equipment. And we're talking equipment maintenance, equipment safety. Anybody can take 14 trucks clear across Germany in the middle of the night and get them there safely with all the personnel, you've done good. Anybody that can take a whole 2 companies and move it from Fort Carson, Colorado, clear to California and back without one incident or damage or a soldier getting hurt has done their job. And I bring that to you. I guess I did 4 years in recruiting, so that would be called HR. You turn every rock over. You talk about the toughest job I ever had, that was it. Right now, the military, the Army, is scheduled to take it, not make their quota by 50%. And I think that I bring to recruit. But across the spectrum, when you turn around, I went to my tire guy. What's he have a problem? Employees. The jail, the sheriff, and the road crews. So I bring a big part and board a lot of different hats. Thank you.
Thank you. Donald, same question. What areas of expertise can you bring to the commission that would be different than what we currently have?
I've run my own business for 30 years. I had a concrete business and poured concrete. I also did logging, and we had equipment that we had to maintain and run. And I know what it is to run a business, and the county is it's like running a business. It's a big budget. We got to maintain, take care of that. Another thing, I know we already got some experience, but I got 30 plus years of experience in building and maintaining roads. And I think I got a lot of new ideas that would save us some money there too.
Nelson, same question.
So expertise that I would bring that's not already there, law enforcement. Law enforcement is my passion. I've been living and breathing it for 5 years. And I think it's undisputable that the sheriff's office is often the #1 topic at all the commission meetings. So I know what the sheriff's office needs, and I know the difference between what they need and what they want. I know how that place operates. I'm also young. It's going to be a different perspective than some of the other members on the commission board. Not to say that they're old, but I am younger. Really, law enforcement and the public works are the two major areas in the commission meetings. And we already have someone from Public Works. I don't think we need another.
Okay, you get the next question too, Nelson. Stay right there. Do you see any weakness on the way the county is run now? And if so, what would you do to change it?
The weakness in every organization or government or anything is always laziness, inefficiency, and really just lack of energy. And I'm not calling anyone out in specific. Everyone does probably have the best interest in mind, but I put my heart and soul into everything I do, and I would put my heart and soul into this as well. No room for laziness, no room for inefficiency, and I would always maintain an open line of communication with my constituents.
Okay, Clint, same question. Didn't mean to scare you. Same question. Do you see any weaknesses on the way the county is run now? And if so, what would you do to change it?
Yes, I see some weaknesses along the way, but one of them, they're now beginning to correct those deficiencies, and one of them is to hold them accountable. And when you talk about accountable, is when you take and sit up there and you give them statistics and figures that you can actually use. I've been up at the county commission in the last 3 years or whatever, and I've heard the county accountants come through that goes over our books, and they go, well, there's $200,000 missing, but it's here somewhere. Hey, we got a problem. And this past year, we haven't had that. But the thing of it is, that's part of it, and you got all these different departments, and you have to have somebody be the ringleader, somebody step up, and somebody can actually monitor and help you. And what I will tell people, you sit there and you get a department head, and they may be elected. The county commissioner's not there to do their job. You give them a budget, and you let them do their job. You give them a budget, and you expect them to live within that budget. One thing about I always told people, I was a troubleshooter. And I'd have a job for 6 months, and then they'd send me someplace else to fix it. Because I fix things, and I can fix the county. And I'm Clint Walker.
Donald, same question. Sorry. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I think we need to, keep our department heads within the budget and not let them try to lure us out of the budget. And, we need this, we need that, and we can buy things cheaper, And then another thing, I think we need to do a lot of training with our employees and make them more efficient and make them more, where they can run a loader, they can run a motor grader, they can run a backhoe, not just drive a truck, but do it all. And then I think that will save us money too. So that's what
All right, thank you. Stay right there, because now it's time for the closing.
Okay.
You will do your 2-minute closing, please. Thank you.
In closing, again, thank you for coming this evening. This has been a real privilege to be here. If I'm elected to represent District 1 as Bourbon County Commissioner, I I promise to work hard with each department heads towards balancing the budget. While I know each department has its own wants and or needs, it is important to understand overall we are a poor county. We do not have a large budget like many of our surrounding counties. Therefore, we are unable to make drastic changes. The citizens of Bourbon County cannot afford another levy increase or pay more taxes. In a town with so many small businesses who are already taxed at a higher rate than other citizens, raising the mill levy and or taxes isn't an option. I feel the only way to make this better is to grow our community and make it one that new businesses would like to call home. By working with all departments and making small step-by-step changes, we can provide the protection and the roads we all want and need without increasing our mill levy or taxes. As always, one must have a vision of what they want the future to look like. It is my belief for us to have a brighter future for our kids, grandkids. We must grow our community and get back to the foundation of which our great nation was built. One nation under God and our federal, state, and local government. With God's help, all of us working together, we can grow our community through economic development and responsible spending practices without raising taxes or the mill levy. If we can make these changes, I believe we will be on our way to a much brighter future, not only for ourselves, but for the next generation. I appreciate your vote on August 2nd.
Thank you. Cliff. I'm through. Yes, sir.
One of the things that go on, and it doesn't matter from the state level to the county level. And people go, I'm a conservative. I'm this party. Oh, great. We're conservative, we're this party. If you're that conservative, we're this party. Why does this state and this county have the highest taxes you can shake a stick at? I mean, we're in the top 10. And yet, we're not raising taxes. That's the biggest lie I ever hear. Okay, taxes come two ways. The evaluation of property or the mill levy. I don't know about you. I own 88 acres out there in Irish Valley, God's country. And I'll tell you what, every year it's went up. There's not 1 year that I haven't paid more taxes. Not 1 year in 20 years. Think about that. Oh, sales tax. Oh, don't even go there. Food sales tax. That is just absolutely insane and ridiculous. And the other part of the problem is they get a sales tax, or they get a tax. And guess what? They get through, and I don't know if this is going to happen in jail, but all of a sudden, it's paid off, but it never goes away. The state did a computer upgrade. I think it costs you like $2 when you go get a driver's license. Well, in 2 years, that was paid for. Guess what? That fee never went away. And the thing of it is, a lot of times, you'll have fees and stuff, and all of a sudden, it's used for something else rather than the purpose it was supposed to be used for in the first place. And we need to look closely at things like that. And my biggest forte, one of the biggest outlays, people don't say that, in any budget, is maintenance. And people go, no, don't maintain your stuff. You have to have 2 new sheriff's cars. You have to have this new piece of equipment. You have to have this new piece of equipment. If you don't maintain things, guess what? It costs you twice as much to replace it. Thank you.
Mr. Walker, I apologize for not using your first name.
Huh?
I apologize for not using your first name correctly. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. I'm Clint Why.
Nelson, you have 2 minutes for a closing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not promising to fix the county. All I'm promising is to work harder than my opponents, and I can promise you that I will. Like I said earlier, I give my heart and soul to everything I do. I love Bourbon County, lived here my whole life, I never plan on leaving. While I was a sheriff's deputy here, I was very accessible to the public. I hand out my business card, and I write my cell phone number on every card, hand it out like candy. I love getting phone calls in the middle of the night, constantly, and I'm being serious. I will do everything in my power to help the citizens of this county. This county is my passion. This county is my home. I'd appreciate your vote August 2nd.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, you're free to step down. Appreciate it so much. Our next position is our county clerk. If Ashley would please make her way up here. Our county clerk is running unopposed, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to what she has to say. I know she will be brief. Thank you. Thank you, Clint.
I'm impressed there's still so many people here, so thank you for sticking around. I'm Ashley Shelton. I am the current county clerk. I was appointed in September of last year when Kendall resigned. I moved over here after I graduated high school in 2002, and I've been here ever since. My husband is a firefighter for the city of Fort Scott. We have 2 boys. They go to school at Uniontown. I didn't really have anything planned to say, but after I heard some of the other candidates speak, I did want to assure you that I do feel like our elections here in Bourbon County, I can't speak for anyone else, but for Bourbon County, I feel like they are very secure. I was part of the 2020 election. I was not the election officer, Kendall was, but we test ballots, we test them. Everyone has access. The box out front is bolted to the ground. There's a camera on it. There's 2 people that check it. We document how many ballots come out of it. We run those through the system. They match that we mailed a ballot to that person. We verify the signature matches. We've done training to verify the handwriting.
You're good.
Okay.
Finish.
Well, they had stopped, so.
I know. But finish your statement.
Okay. So I feel like there is no fraud in our elections, that they ran very safely here in Bourbon County. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to call our office and we would be glad to discuss anything with them.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't have any questions for you. Again, you're running unopposed. It's close to the end of the evening. We're down to our last speaker. Our speaker is new to her position, but she's doing a very aggressive, assertive job. I know that. I visited the courtroom. Again, being on the 6th Judicial Review Board, it's important to keep up on how the courtroom activities are going. Tiana Mcelroy.
I listen to 1 minute.
No.
You know, attorneys, they talk a lot. So
You can have up to 3 minutes. I know that's a very short statement for an attorney, but, so please.
First, I'd like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity. I want to thank everybody. I agree with Ashley. Still lots of people here. So I appreciate all of your time. For those who are here and online, my name is Tiana Mcelroy. I'm the Republican only candidate for county attorney. I do currently hold that position now. When the previous county attorney resigned, I believe it was at the end of June of last year, the Republican committee met and interviewed several people. I was blessed enough to be given this opportunity. I'm grateful for it. I do live here in Fort Scott, and I have 2 kids. I know that was an issue before. I do live here, and this county is very important to me, the safety of the people who live here. Some of the things, I do have a lot of goals. The criminal process is really interesting. I would invite all of you to come and just observe some of our dockets. All criminal dockets are open to the public. I read social media a lot, and I see a lot of questions. Why is this happening? Why is this person out of jail? Why is this person not in prison? Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to explain that because it could take a lot of time. It is a process. Someone who's convicted of a crime doesn't necessarily always go to prison. It depends on the level of crime, it depends on their criminal history, but we have frequent flyers here. We have people who are in and out, who have multiple cases pending, and one of my primary goals is to put them in prison, to remove them from our county jails when they get picked up for violating bonds and they get picked up for violating probation, and to put them in prison so the state's paying for it. And then they're not here in our county anymore. They're not here with illegal substances that they're using and selling, burglarizing vehicles and homes. They're not here anymore. So that's my goal. It's been my goal since I was selected. I have worked in Bourbon County for 4 years. I worked as assistant county attorney beginning in January 2018. I left for about 6 months, and then when the position came open for county attorney, I came back because I'm not from here, but I really like this area. It feels like home more than my hometown does. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I appreciate your time.
We don't have any questions for you, but I participated in that activity. And one of the things we asked you to do is if you would consider moving here. Yes. Not only did you consider it,
I did.
You moved here within like 3 months.
Yes.
So thank you so much for doing that. Another person that moved to Bourbon County, because we know as citizens here, we need everybody we can to live, reside, and work here. So thank you so much.
And it was the best decision I ever made. My kids are thriving here.
Wonderful. See? So someone's moved here and they're thriving here. Thank you so much for coming tonight, okay? That concludes our evening. On behalf of the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you. Thank you for attending, because you know that it's important to understand the candidates. I still see a candidate, if I'm not mistaken, sitting right here. There may be others. You know, under these lights, you can barely see, so I made the mistake of just looking up. So I don't want to edge closer to the stage. Again, I said earlier, we live on the greatest country on the face of the earth. We have so many blessings here, the amendments we have, the First Amendment, the Second, all of them. We have blessings here that people that do not have that. We have something that happens often here. We have a naturalization ceremony. If you've ever had the opportunity, please come to it. It is truly something wonderful to see, because people around the world are dying to come to this country to have the rights that we have. So thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Have a great evening. Drive carefully out there. Again, there's candidates out there, so thank you very much. Have a great evening. Good night now.